Your father lived here for 50 years.
That's correct, just over 50 years.
What has happened to him?
Well, basically, he went back to Jamaica 2010. There was a hurricane. He had some land. He also was retired, and he decided that he was just going to go back and, you know, just chill, realistically. 2013, we booked him a flight to come back in at Christmas time. Once he arrived at check-in, that's when they told him that he couldn't board the flight, and they suggested because he didn't have a visa.
Did he have a passport, though?
He had a passport. With
a British passport?
No, he had a Jamaican passport.
A Jamaican passport?
With an indefinite leave to stay stamp in the passport.
He had the stamp?
He had the stamp in the passport.
So
the government created a situation in which if you couldn't prove that you were British, then the presumption was that you weren't. So you're effectively guilty unless proved innocent, the reverse of what we would normally expect. If you didn't have a passport, then you had to really rise above a very high bar. And in the case of the Windrush generation, different from Samantha, they came over on their aunts and uncles and parents' passports. So they didn't have passports of their own. And then, once that had happened, life became pretty intolerable. You couldn't rent a property, you couldn't keep your job, you couldn't, in fact, hold a bank account, and ultimately, if you didn't go back, as it was seen, you were deported. Going back, of course, is slightly bizarre, as some of the families, as we've heard from Samantha, were here virtually all their lives.
But you can't afford, really, to keep battling this.
how much has it cost you?
Oh, do you know, over the 10 years, I can't even tell you. We just keep paying out. We paid out originally for the visa just over £1,000. Then we had flights that were already booked that we didn't get a return on. And also just his health at the moment, he's in hospital.
Yeah.
So we're having to, you know, fund that because he does have to pay. He keeps saying to me, "I'm not a criminal. I haven't done anything. So why am I not allowed back?"
It wasn't just the Home Secretary who was told it was a challenging policy. The Prime Minister was as well. It was a very contested piece of legislation across government departments. I can't name them, but there were some who saw it as almost reminiscent of Nazi Germany in the way it was working. Ministers were deeply unhappy. I mean, that's an amazing thing to read.
It's true. I heard it personally, so I know it to be the case.
And in what way did they see it as being reminiscent of Nazi Germany?
Well, because of the way in which people lost their rights and were effective.
And their identities.
And their identities, and then all their ability to live, really, all the things that go with being, you know, a normal life. And that's why they were so concerned. And we've heard from Baroness Varzi over the weekend that it was a bitterly opposed policy. So this was hotly debated. And I think one of the reasons I said it was that there is a perception this was down to a bureaucratic bungle. It's not.
But once you create an atmosphere of a hostile environment, once a government, it was Labour that started this, uses that phrase, can they really take the high moral ground now and claim the hostile environment led to this?
I'm concerned about the individuals and how they're affected rather than how the parties play out on this issue.
But you accept all parties...
If you're obsessed with immigration, then people who are here legally but find they cannot prove their legal immigration status are going to feel that the policy is hostile to them.
Entirely right. And my point is this, really. If you have a policy like that, then there will be consequences. We hear today about the Windrush generation, but there will be others. There are others who are just as vulnerable, which is why the policy needs to be reviewed, root and branch review of the policy and the way it approaches the issue.
It disgusts me, to be honest, that there's illegal immigrants here and my father is effectively should be here. You know, and I do want to just raise this because he just wanted to show you this, but he came in on a British passport.
Yes, this is what I don't understand.
In 1959.
Right, so he's British, right?
Well,
he has a dual...
He should have a dual passport. So he because he was allowed to have a Jamaican passport, and
but he came in on a British passport. He came in on a British passport. 50 years in this country.
Yeah.
He goes back to Jamaica, which is where he originally came from, and spends a couple of years there, and then he wants to come back to the country he came in on a British passport.
Right, but he has a Jamaican passport, but he wanted to keep that because he's proud to be Jamaican. Right. But he had the indefinite leave to stay. So why change it if you don't need to?
But what do we do as a country, given what has blown up in the last 2 weeks? And it's disgusting, it's unedifying, it's wrong, it's shameful, all those things. But what do we do moving forward to tackle illegal immigration but protect those who've been caught up in this net?
We have to manage migration into this country and we have to tackle illegal immigrants. There's no argument about that. But you can do it in a humane, fair and effective way. And that's how other countries do it. They don't go in for this rhetoric of hostile environment. So that's why I say review the policy, keep it clear and keep it effective, but don't have this sort of inhumanity, basically.
Now
I feel sick to my stomach about the way people have been treated. It is utterly appalling, and action needs to be taken now to do whatever can be done to put it right.
Samantha, what's going to happen with your dad?
Well, I had a phone call from the Home Office yesterday on a Sunday morning.
Yeah. Good news?
Well, a news of we're not sure how, we're not sure when, but we will be in touch.
Well, let me give a little message to the Home Office. Get Samantha's father back to this country where he is perfectly entitled to be, where he came in on a British passport and lived for 50 years, and get it done this week. No excuses, no flip-flam, nothing. Just get it done. And if you've got other relatives, you know, family, friends who have been treated like this, we want to hear about them. We're going to fight these cases. It's a complete and utter disgrace.